if God is a creator, he's an artist, you know?
Yeah, well, of course. Well, he's the ultimate creator and artist.
Yeah.
He's the ultimate. He's the top of the top, you know, if you think of a pyramid, is at the very top.
Yeah.
And if we're created in God's image, then that means we're created to be creators in our own right.
Yeah. Which is exactly what she says in there as well.
Yeah.
It's like, I have the right to create. Like, creating is my God-given right.
God-given right, birthright.
My human right, my birthright.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Destiny.
I don't know how to come back on after the last video. What the hell? All I can say is that I'm just so immensely grateful, and all I can say too is that if there's anything that you want to do, just go for it. And if there's any truth inside of you that you want to share it, because it's so crucial. I think right now we need so much just of each other's truth. And so yeah, showing up. Today I am showing up for this painting that I've started, and it's been feeling like quite a big project. I haven't done a big painting like this before, and it feels like really vulnerable work. And I think that that's part of the reason why I've been finding it really hard to show up for it. And it's just been big. I think any time that I start a painting or like a difficult piece of art, especially with painting, I get to a point where I start to work on it and I kind of like it, I kind of like the colours, and then I'm like, I think I need to stop here because I'm gonna ruin it. So it's been sitting here and I'm coming back to it now. Yeah, and there's things that are sitting with me that I'd love to share. Yeah, I want to paint and chat, paint and share, spend some time together. Before I start painting, I want to share something that I've been thinking about and that has been on my mind. So I've come to realise that part of creating art for me is really being in my truth, and that can be really difficult because I feel like for many of us being in our truth wasn't safe and it wasn't okay and we were shamed for it. I also feel like a big part of telling my truth has been made as if I am this bad person. So there's an association in my brain that if I tell my truth, I could be perceived as a bad person. And that's really hard when the core of my art is my truth. Because as you can imagine, I stumble within that realm when I struggle to be in my truth. And speaking my truth can feel really frightening and scary. To create, for me, it means to be in my truth, and I struggle to be in my truth because sometimes I don't feel safe to be in my truth, or my truth isn't received well. And if my truth isn't received well, then I feel like my art suffers a bit. That creativity that flows through me suffers a little bit. I get a bit tense and I get a bit shut down, and that's something that I'm noticing, is like that fear coming up of being in my truth and how I'm being perceived being in my truth. That's such a fear for me. I wrote something down and maybe this will explain it better, but I I essentially feel this deep demoralization when I know that people can just go on and think and say whatever they want about me, and that's not in my control. And I think there's an element inside of me between this creativity and that control of I cannot control how I'm perceived, which means I cannot control how my creativity is perceived. And it's scary if I can't control it, and I don't know how things will go, but maybe that's my work here, is like to work on letting go of that control, and to, although it's scary, to fully allow myself to create, because what else is there? And there's nothing that I can do on how I'm going to be perceived. I guess I'm worried, what if somebody turns around and points at me and says, look how wrong you are. Like, look how wrong you are. And I don't mean just wrong in like an idea or a concept, but wrong as a person. And that's obviously a fear of mine, and it stems from the depths of my experience. But that affects, I've only come to realise now that any time that I struggle to be fully in my truth and my truth isn't being received, and I can't fully just be in a state of flow with my truth, which is normal because I obviously have to interact with other human beings, and so we're all so different. But when I can't let that flow, also my creativity flow is affected. And that's been interesting because now I can understand my art better, and I can now understand that my art for me is my truth. Whether it's a painting, whether it's one of these videos, whether it's a film, I want to create a feeling, I want to create a piece of truth, I want to create something that wants to be created inside of me. Yeah, and that actually I also want to talk about like understanding the creative spirit, because understanding that has also made me understand what is this, because you know you sometimes hear about like opening up your channel and letting creativity flow through you and your projects flow through you. When I was thinking about it, then if we all open up our channel, would we all not be creating the same thing? What makes it that when we open up our channel, what is it with this flow that, although it's like a creative spirit, it's kind of the same creative spirit that we can all tap into. What is it that when this creative spirit flows and it reaches our hand, if it's a painting or whatever it is, your voice as you're singing, what is it that makes it different between me and you? So something that I've been thinking about, and I think that deeply taps again into ourselves, because we're all different, like that individual difference. But for me it resonates with this idea of like our own truth. That's why the creative spirit flowing through us is different for each of us. Although it's the same spirit, it flows through each of us differently because we all have different truths, we all have different experiences, we are all different people. And so I've written something else that I wanted to share with you. So I've also been trying to understand the creative spirit and opening up my channel to allow creativity to flow through me. Something that I feel I'm quite in my infancy with understanding is this creative spirit. Is it about tapping into ourselves deeply and creating from that place? Like, I know it's a creative flow, but how is that creative spirit linked to us individually? It's a matter of being tapped into our individual selves and allowing the creative spirit to flow from our deep selves. Because even if me and you are both tapped into the creative spirit and we allow it to flow through us, we wouldn't end up creating the same thing. And so that would lead me to think that as part of opening up our channel to the spirit of creativity, we also have to be tapped into our own unique truth, so that we can create from that place. Because otherwise what place are we creating from if it's not from that place? I think it's cool because I'm noticing a shift into what is my art. What, you know, for a while there, and I've said it in my other videos, is like, what is my art? And that's something that I struggle with. What am I doing here? And I think as long as I'm tapped into that truth and I'm creating from that place, then that's what my art is. And right now it could be a painting, you know, it could be a video, it could be filming, it could be whatever it will be in the future. I found that really interesting. I'm still reading through the comments actually from the other video, and I'm so grateful, and some of them I don't even know what to say back to, because I'm like, I just can't believe I'm having that impact in the space in the world on YouTube. So yeah, I guess I've kind of been feeling emotional over that, but like also I just don't know what to say back, because some of them just feel so touching and so deep that I don't have words right now, you know. I think on that as well, I personally find it so difficult to be a participant human in the world. And I think the reason why I want to create, one of the reasons why I want to keep creating these videos is because art is saving my life, you know? Art is really saving my life. And it's helping me to make sense of existing. It's helping me to make sense of like, what am I doing here? Yeah, and I'm really grateful for that. Thank you, art. Thank you, art, and thank you, creative spirit. I just wanna lay here, smoke my cig and drink my wine. I think I wanna lay here until my hurting's done. I just wanna lay here, smoke my cig and drink my wine. I think I wanna lay here until my hurting's done. As you can tell, the lighting's changing here. That's because a lot of time has passed and I've been working on this, and once I got into it, I didn't really feel like I could talk about the things that I wanted to talk about. But also, can I just say how scary and uncomfortable and emotional it was working on this. But oh my god, it really took so much willpower to actually stick through it, and at one point I felt like crying. It's just the weight that this holds for me. It's wild. But yeah, anyway, I wanted to talk more about our truth and how hard it is to like stay true to yourself when you're discouraged to do that from a young age, and when you're shamed for being in your truth and for like starting to share what your truth is. Yeah, I wanted to talk on that, on like how so many of us, it's like we're just completely discouraged from being in our truth. Understandably so, because the truth is painful. And I think if you're like shamed for being in your truth from a young age, it becomes quite hard to trust yourself when you're an adult. I think that people pleasing can often come from that. I think people pleasing comes from different things, but that's one of the things of like, okay, it's not safe for me to be in my truth, so that means I have to say and be something else so that I can keep the status quo. And it feels like the same like in the real world and online. It's like, how can you make sure that you're always keeping the status quo? Because, you know, if you're not, great things can happen, but also really ungreat things can happen, and we often don't like people to like be themselves or stand out from the crowd. So it's funny how it's all interlinked, because I think we often look towards our parents as well for these things, and that's so valid and so true. But something on my journey of like starting the artist way that I've realised is like there's this bigger overall voice that has been feeding our parents too, our lineage, our families, our friends and the people around us, and then through that learning it ends up still being in us. And I think so many of these things like aren't just personal to me, and that's why I'm kind of speaking about them as like this overall bigger picture, because I feel like I can see it, you know, culturally, but just bigger, because it kind of, it's one of, I feel like this is one of these things that goes past just cultures. It's like, it's a bigger thing. We don't want people to be fully in themselves, in their bodies, because then, you know, they can't be really marketed to as well. And like someone that's confident isn't really going to bother buying a product that tells them you're not good enough in this way. So yeah, without getting too much into it, I feel like there's like a bigger societal thing here, as well as it is like seeped down for a lot of us through generations. And that's why I think critical thinking is like really important, and that's something that I was taught in college, but I think that that's where critical thinking comes in like and plays a huge role, because yeah, in critical thinking you're basically taught to question things that you're being told, and to not take everything that like people tell you as fact and just question things more. I feel like that's one of the skills that through writing and through allowing myself to think differently just in my own kind of world, allowing myself to think differently and questioning things, that's helped me immensely to like be more myself and to come more into my body and into who I am, and to like bring it right back to our art and to creating. I think the more that you think for yourself, then it's easier to be, because if you can exist as you truly are, it's so much easier then to create from a more authentic and from a place of who you really are and the things that you want to create, not the things that you should create. And I think many of us, once we start to like unravel ourselves and to really get to know ourselves, for many of us who haven't been allowed to do that and haven't had the space to do that, that's why a lot of us turn to art, I think, because it's a place where, at least for myself, it's a place where I'm finally allowed to explore and be who I want to be. And like, oh my god, is it scary, but it feels like for the first time I'm able to like fully explore who I am. And I think the Artist Way does actually a great thing for that, because through the different tasks that you're doing, you're unraveling who you were before everything. Those natural likes and dislikes that you have, where are they, and what would you do from that place if they weren't like so shut off? So thinking for yourself feels like a great way to be able to create what you really want to create. I feel like only now, after such a long time, not even that long, but like after, I think it's been nearly a year. Yeah, it has been. It's been like a year since I've started reading it. I think only now am I realising what the Artist Way is doing and how in-depth it is, but you also do not have to go that deep if that's not you, which is so cool. But it just has these skills of going so deeply into yourself and into your likes and dislikes and into who you were before being ashamed for who you were. Yeah. What a tool. She actually probably talks about some of these things in the book. Yeah, she talks about like shame, and she talks about who supported you growing up with whatever you wanted to do and who didn't. Yeah. I'm also realising that creating is helping to like bring me into the body, because sometimes when I don't feel grounded, like even just simply colouring or trying to draw a thing of how I'm feeling helps me so much more to feel human and to come back into the body. And then obviously as well, it's so cool to be able to create from an embodied place. But I think creating and creativity and allowing yourself to play in this way can really help to bring you home, back into the body. I honestly think there's never been a more crucial time, and where you also, I feel like we get the opportunity to do this, but like a crucial time to connect with these creative parts of ourselves. It feels like a really important time with everything that's going on, and it feels like one of the most powerful things that I can do right now is really going into those depths of myself and unlayering all the layers in order to be able to like really reflect on who I am and what I put out around me, to the close people around me, to the close ecosystem around me, and then overall on a bigger picture. I think there's never been a more important time than now. And then also I feel so blessed to have been born during this time, because if I was born before, I don't know that I would have had all this access to this information, and based on like where my family grew up, I don't know that I would have had access to like get education in the way I did and really expand my mind and like, yeah, I guess just access to all these resources. So I feel so blessed to live, as much as like the internet is obviously so damaging. I think there's never been such a better time either, because I get to learn so much from the internet. If there's anything that I want to learn about, I can just go online and learn about it, and that has actually helped me immensely. It's helped me to like really advance my mind very quickly, and previously I might have had to read like so much maybe to get to where I am now, and I mightn't have even had access to those books, you know, because how would I have come across them? So now not only can I learn about things that really help me as a human so quickly, but I also have all these resources, all these people that feel the same online. And so I think the online world is like, has helped me to accelerate, I guess that's the word, is like, it's helped me to accelerate who I truly am deep inside so much quicker. And I don't know if that would have happened to that degree if I didn't have the internet. So I feel blessed to be born during this time. And that's why I feel like because we have access to all these resources, it's like so important to make use of those resources. And at the same time, I'm also really aware of the fact that, like, you know, social media has like damaged so much, and like, yeah, I guess there's so many like cons to being on the internet, and also like doom scrolling and stuff. So there's definitely loads of cons, and with social media and all of that, it's also like really taken me out of my body and out of the present moment, and it's such a distraction. So there is, of course, that con of like really just taking you out of your body, of disembodying you. Yeah, I really feel like it makes my mind really, really unclear, and I just feel out of body. Then when I come out of it, it's like a weird kind of hole, a weird portal that like you go into. So yeah, there is that too. Yeah. And with all of this, I think if there's like anything that you want to do, just do it. Like, that's what I'm saying to myself right now. Although I'm like really nervous of different things and being on YouTube and all of that, I'm like just show up and do it, because what's the alternative? You know, and especially if you really feel something deeply inside of yourself, what's the alternative? And allow yourself to become whoever you are meant to become on this path, whatever your like purpose is, whatever your soul's purpose is. There's this book that's actually such a beautiful and like simple book, but I honestly think that it's like, for me at least, I'm realizing that it's about like the simplicity of it all, and yeah, really just living simply. There's this book called Ikigai. This book has also helped me to understand more this idea of like finding your soul's purpose, and like what's your role to play, something that can help the people around you or more, and then something that you could possibly get paid for, and something that you enjoy doing, something that gets you out of bed in the morning. That's been feeling very on topic for me at the moment. I must say it's getting a little bit less scary to paint this now. Now that I'm kind of in a flow, yeah, it's feeling okay. It's feeling okay. I just really hope we can all like show up in our truth and unravel who we really are, and be able to be like better people for ourselves and for each other.
I want to take a minute to thank my ancestors for all that they have done, all their sacrifices. I want to acknowledge their hardships and their courage, their love, because I wouldn't be here without them, and I feel so deeply privileged to get the chance to work on myself and on my creativity. It's honestly been such a blessing, and I feel deeply grateful. I also really want to thank you for watching these videos, for following along, and for your support, and I hope we can continue to connect more and more. Thank you deeply for being here, and take deep care of yourself, and see you next time.